So they say everybody needs a good coach. The better the coach, the better the player. Had a chance to meet probably one of the more interesting coaches I've ever met in my life the other day. He was over at the mansion party with Nick.
Mm-hmm.
He is Gary Chupik, and he is a coach to some of the world's greatest athletes and individuals. How you doing, Gary?
I'm doing fantastic.
So, what do people use you for?
They help me to level up their mind. So I work with a lot of professional athletes and high achievers in business, and I don't teach them what to think, I teach them how to think. Many of them are already really good at what they do in terms of their skill level in their craft, but oftentimes they know their craft.
We had a good athlete in here earlier, Sean Merriman.
Yeah, I heard that you did. I can't.
Did you get a chance to talk to him or
not
no?
yet? I will,
okay.
though. There's only three things you can train. You can train your body, you can train your craft, and you can train your mind.
You know, a buddy of mine, Jonas Kraft, always says, get your mind right, get your money right, get your life right.
Yeah, and I would say that's true. And it's in the field or on the surface of performance, but it's also away from the playing surface. There's a lot of things that you can do away from the playing surface that can increase your ability to perform on the surface. So I try and find hidden reservoirs, I call them, of performance, and they're there. You just got to extract them out.
So why is getting your mind right? Why is your mindset so important to people in any walk of life? Why is it so important? Why is that a big game changer?
Well, it's a skill, and it's a skill that most people don't train. So they train everything else, but they don't train their mind. So there's a lot of circumstances in life where you don't really train for, you can't train for, but you can prepare for. And so preparing is training your mind so that when you get into those situations, you can do two things. You can rely on your training and you can rely on your instincts. And so a lot of athletes live in that little space of training their mind, training their skills, training their instincts. But when you don't have a plan, it's what are you going to do? I know Mike Tyson used to say, everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the face. And so who are you? And what will you do when those moments come where you're unprepared? So you're going to rely on your training and your instincts. So how have you trained your mind to deal with those circumstances?
What are three things that you teach people to train their mind? I know you're working with Nick Marietta. What are some of the things that you teach him to control his mind, to put his mind in the right place?
Man, that's such a good question, especially for a guy like Nick, right? So number one is to live on time. I call it LOT. So you want to live in the present moment. Now think about an hourglass. Hourglass has the top of the part where it has the sand. That's the future. The bottom part is the past. And there's that little space right at the middle where all the best moments happen. So you can
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. I'm going to steal that from you.
Yeah, you can.
That's a good one.
You can. That's the place where the best performance exists. It's not in the future and it's not in the past. It's in that present moment. So we want to have your mind in the same zip code. We want as your body, and we want your mind to be in the same time zone as your body. So Michael Jordan used to say, he goes, man, it just felt like everything was in slow motion. I was so good. It just felt like I was shooting baskets in a big old garbage can. But what was actually happening was he was synchronizing his mind and his body for that present moment. And he was dialed in. He was right at that center of that hourglass.
So what are some of the things that you struggle with? Like everyone's got something that they have to work on in their life, whether it's their weight, whether it's their wealth, whether it's their mindset. What do you struggle with? And how do you cope with those things? How do you improve upon the things that you're struggling with?
Yeah, well, you had to get personal, didn't you, Chris? So one of the things that I struggle with is being in front of a camera. And that's really funny because I'm in front of the camera all the time. I speak in front of audiences all the time. But what's really interesting to me about it is that we all have insecurities, every last single one of us. So if you're in the human race, you have an insecurity. And so what I've learned to do is access the training and the skills that I've developed in my mind so that I can deal with those situations and those insecurities in a very effective way. So for example, if you have an insecurity, no matter what it is, if you've trained your mind, you've given yourself a suite of skills to be able to use so that you can deal with that insecurity. So for example, if I'm in the back room before this podcast, I'm doing living on time. I am making sure that my self-talk is on point. I'm emotionally regulating myself. I'm resetting often. And what reset means is just to do away with all the past negative thoughts and feelings and emotions that you have from previous experiences, and you just live in that present experience. So you reset. Your brain's like a hard drive, and it defrags every night, but multiple times throughout the day it slows down, bogs down. Maybe some negative and unhelpful programs have been loaded, and so you want to be able to reset your hard drive and start over again, and then you want to go into neutral thinking.
What do you do nutritionally for your brain? Do you do anything with vitamins or what you put in your body?
Yeah, there's a lot of nootropics out there that can be really helpful, and there's a lot of legal ones and there's ones that are not so legal. But for me, I like to use mushrooms. There's some mushroom extracts that I like to use.
You're
for
going to love
nootropics.
Jeremy Gardner, who's coming to the dinner tonight. He's very big on the whole mushroom psychedelics.
Yeah, well, we would probably get along because that stuff fascinates me.
I agree. He is Gary Chupik. He is a mind coach. He has got his mind right. He's got his money right. And he's got his life right.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you, buddy.